Hello everyone. Welcome to today's webinar where we are going to have a presentation as well as a demonstration on converting a SolidWorks model to a Revit file. Hope everyone is able to hear us. Let me start with an introduction and the agenda of today's meeting. So we will start with a quick introduction about SolidWorks and who we are and what we do, and followed by that we will have a detailed presentation on the product where we will detail about the features of SolidWorks to Revit converter. Followed by that we will have a demonstration on the product. Once the demonstration is done, we will have a question and answer session where we can answer any of your questions. SolidWorks is an engineering and IT services company. We are in the business from 2005 and we are headquartered in Dublin, Ohio in USA, and we have our offices in India, Dubai, Europe and Australia. We have two lines of business. One is the engineering and as well as the IT services. Engineering services is our forte, where we focus on engineering automation and also engineering design services. We have other lines of business where we focus on software development in web-based software as well as in legacy systems like AS400 and also open source like Java. In terms of engineering services, we are partners with Autodesk and we are partners with Dassault Systems. We are partners with PTC for Korea, and we are partners with Rhino, Trimble Systems for SketchUp, and in terms of the IT, we are partners with Microsoft, Altera, and Red Hat, and IBM. With this quick introduction, we will have a demonstration and the presentation of the product, and this explains on the services which we do on engineering services. We are more into CAD automation, Revit, Navisworks, Inventor, any of the Autodesk products, and we do BIM services for architectural firms where we work on all the BIM modeling on 4D, 5D, 6D, any of the BIM concepts. And also we have expertise in working with the lifecycle management systems in terms of mechanical software like Windchill, Innovia, and also for Revit we deal with BIM 360. And in terms of design services in mechanical, we have great expertise in restaurant design and also restaurant equipment design. We also do Revit content creation as a part of our BIM services. So with this, I'll hand over the call to Srini, who will take over the presentation of the product and as well as the features of the demo. Thank you.
Thanks, Venkat. So, to the continuation of these are the industries which we serve as is here: the restaurant equipments, the loading equipment, sanitary, medical industry, building and construction materials. So now I'll be showing you the SolidWorks to Revit exporter or BIMDEX tool, which does is like it converts the SolidWorks model to the Revit model. So this is a heat exchanger model. Now what I'm going to show you is like I'm going to export this SolidWorks heat exchanger model into a Revit family file. So as you see here, a BIMDEX tool, when you install it, you will have these options here. When you export, when you click on this export, you will get this initial settings. So the two options which you see here is the first one is select configuration. this is a list, and what you see here is like whatever configurations you have added in your model, that would be getting listed here. So as you see here, without internal components and without the covers, these two configurations are being part of this model. And you could select this, and you could directly always export it. This is the export, and this converts your SolidWorks model to the intermediate file called VXF, which is a proprietary product of a BIMTax. So the next option is select UCS. So here we list down all the coordinate systems. So it differs from, let's say, if you have like coordinate system here and your desired coordinate system is something else which you wanted to get exported to Revit, you could set the UCS here in the SolidWorks, and you could choose that UCS, and you could export that to the Revit. So I'll move on to the next option. This is the basic setting option screen. So the primary purpose of this option is like the models which you have can be consolidated and exported to the Revit. So at certain business conditions, you will not require all the components to be exported to Revit. Just to simplify your options, we give you multiple options here so that you could play around and simplify the models. So this is remove parts by volume. So you have two options here, by percentage and by cubic millimeters. So here you have this less than and greater than options. By entering these values, you could say for an example, you have like huge volume of parts which you not desire to export to Revit, so that you could mention here so that those components get ignored. Moving on to the next option is remove parts by quantity. In your SolidWorks model, you have like huge number of quantities. For instance, you have a fastener or a bolt which you have like huge numbers. You do not want those fasteners or the bolts to be exported to Revit. So that you could mention here by numbers. By that we ignore those components. Say for instance, we mentioned here as 95. So the next option is remove features. So if your model has holes as features, those would be ignored. The next option is include by view. For an example, you have the views here. So when I give this option the front view, the components which are visible in your front view will get exported, and which are not visible will be ignored. The purpose of this is like when I select all these views, now the visible components are only the outer shell components. The inside components would be ignored. So in that way, the outer shell components will get exported and the inside components will get ignored. Now whenever this is the basic settings, and you have an option here. So after doing all these settings, you could always select this preview, and you could check whether the desired components have been included and the unwanted components have been excluded. So here, as you see, I have just given the numbers of this fasteners, which are I mentioned as 95. So the fasteners has been ignored, as you see here. So the settings which I was showing you, we call it as the basic settings. The next comes the advanced settings. So the advanced settings, as you see here, what we do is like we list all the components here. So you have this component name listed with configuration, the type, the description, volume, and the quantity. So here the components which are unchecked will not get exported to the Revit. So as you see the fasteners, so I have ignored it by the quantity. So you see this is 90, here you see the 96. So I've mentioned the number there, and that has been ignored here. So always you could come here, and you could also select by any part, and so that you could ignore that. So I'll move on to the next screen. This is the final screen. So here you could always again cross verify to generate your preview, and this is save as VXF. now I'm going to export this SolidWorks model to the intermediate file, which is the BXF. Now I'm saving this BXF. Now the SolidWorks model is getting converted to the BXF. Now the process has been completed. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to import that BXF file into a Revit family, so that the BXF file gets converted as an RFA file. And our tool has an option also to import as a project, which I would show you the next model. Now I'll show you the family. So what you will have to do is you have to open a new project template. So for this instant, I'll open as a mechanical equipment template. So as you saw in SolidWorks, you had a BeamDex exporter. This is in Revit, you have this BeamDex importer. So when you hit this import, you will be asked for saving the BXF. So this is the BXF which I exported from SolidWorks, and I'm going to open that. And before that, we have this import type option. So we have flat subassembly. As you see here, flat subassembly, flat assembly, flat part, and complete assembly. So this is like to ensure the hierarchical model which from SolidWorks to Revit is getting exported. So when you say complete assembly, it gives you the same hierarchy which SolidWorks holds, the ditto of that hierarchy. Say in instance, when I say hierarchy, the assembly, the subassembly, and the part level, and the nested subassemblies, it comes as ditto as to the Revit. On some instances, the user might not require the same assembly hierarchy to be imported to Revit. On that case, we have different options segregated as flat subassembly, flat assembly, and flat part. When you go to flat part, every hierarchy has been collapsed and everything is being created as a single part. And when you hit flat subassembly, the first level of hierarchy is maintained and the rest nested components is being collapsed as an assembly. So I'm just choosing this as a flat subassembly, and I'm creating now the BXF is getting converted to the RFA file. So now as you see, the model has been created as a family file here. We also bring the colors, the metadata from SolidWorks. So on this instant, when you select this, see it is being created as a generate model here. And always you could edit the geometry of this model. So as you see, I'm just extending this, I'm just editing the geometry, and I'm loading that same into the project, and you see the geometry addition has been reflected here. This is how the SolidWorks model is being converted into a Revit family file. So now I'll show you the properties. The parameters has been converted from SolidWorks. The material and the drawn by, as you see, the product number, the revision, which is from SolidWorks, has been converted to the Revit and it's been reflected in the properties. And any properties from SolidWorks can be converted to the Revit. As you see, these are the properties which were available in the SolidWorks model, and that has been here. And any properties which you mentioned in SolidWorks, that would be getting converted into the family. Now, what I'm going to do is like, I'm going to export this model into a Revit project. So the same way it goes, like I click on export, and similarly have multiple options of configuration. I'm selecting this one, and similarly, as I said earlier, you have this use here. I'm going to the basic settings, and now earlier with the family, I showed you how you have to play around with the basic settings. Now I'll go to the advanced settings, and here what I will do is like I would ignore some components here, and I'll show you how it is getting ignored. So I say I don't want this exhaust fan, and also if you want to search it by, if you have a large number of components, you want to search it, we have this filter option, so you could like always have this multiple options like contains with, starts with, ends with, or equals to. So I'm just selecting this contains with, and I'm going to ignore this one. So when you expand this, it would show you the number of instances it has in the SolidWorks model. So you could always go cross-verify whether you have ignored the desired component. So to verify that, when you hit on this, it would show you like which exactly you are going to ignore. So this is the thing. Yes, I have seen that, so I'm going to ignore that. So after that, you could also see the preview. So this is the whole model which the Revit project is going to get created. So this is the one I desired. So I just go on to the next step. So I'm going to the same process. I'm going to save this SolidWorks model as a BXF. The BXF process, conversion process has been completed. Now I'm going to open that to the Revit. So earlier I showed you how you can create a Revit family. Now I'm going to show you how you're going to create a Revit project. So you'll have to create a new project. The same way the import, and as I explained earlier, you have multiple options of simplifying your hierarchy. So I'm going to select this BXF, and now the BXF has been converted into Revit project file. So as you see here, you have this category mapping. So all the components here will be listed, and you could map the desired category to the against that component. So for instance, now I'm going to, you see here the door assembly. I want this to be as a door, as a category. So I'll assign this door assembly as a door in a category, and I'm going to create this Revit project. So as you see here, the ignored components has been ignored, and the Revit project has been created. So I have assigned this door as a door category, and you see this category has been assigned to it. and also we create the instances. I showed you this is an instance. So what I'm going to do is like I'll edit this geometry property. And you see all the instances of its geometry has been affected. So we instantiate the components which already is as an instance in SolidWorks. So this is how we convert the SolidWorks model to a Revit project or a Revit family. So thank you. This is how the BIMDEX tool works, and this is how we convert the SolidWorks model as a project or a family in a Revit.
So we welcome your questions. So the chat box is open. We can answer any of your questions right now. Thank you. So these are some of the client testimonials who use our product. So this product has really changed the way the design exchange has been happening from SolidWorks to Revit. And for your information, the product is also available for other mechanical softwares. And also we are currently developing products which can get a Revit model into SolidWorks as well. And also we are developing for SketchUp, Rhino, multiple other softwares. So we are trying to make the BXF file which we showed in the demonstration as the global file format, which can help customers across multiple softwares and also multiple different systems. Like, for example, you have a mechanical company who needs to give their design to an architect, and there is a concept design company who needs to exchange their design to a mechanical or an architectural firm. So we are trying to enable the design exchange across multiple softwares as well as multiple domains. So that's the ultimate goal of what we are trying to do here. So as you can see here, these are some of the testimonials from our customers. And in terms of the customers who have adopted this software, Walt Disney is one of our key customers who are using our product. Walt Disney Imagineering Division, who design the theme parks, the Disneyland theme parks. They use SolidWorks to design all their mechanical systems, all their rides and everything, and then they use Revit to design all their buildings inside the theme park. So they had a great need to exchange the design information from SolidWorks to Revit, which helped them to completely exchange their designs seamlessly. The extent of designs or models or the size they have is huge, and the product which we have has helped them to exchange the design seamlessly. And also Google is one of our customers where they use our software to exchange their designs. They use SolidWorks, Creo as well as Revit to design their data centers, and they have adopted our software. So these are some of our other customers: Jacobs Engineering, Johnson Controls, Hager, Oslo. These are some of our customers who are using our products. See, the product is completely customizable. The demonstration which we showed you is the base framework. For example, again, with the case of Walt Disney, we have completely modified the software to suit their design process and design workflow. They use Windchill as their PDM system, and we have adopted SolidWorks exporter as well as Revit exporter to suit their design needs, as well as we do a revision management system where you change your design in SolidWorks. We just get the delta information from SolidWorks and make sure we are not disturbing the existing version which is already there in terms of Revit design. So with this, we have the chat box open, and we are glad to answer any of your questions. Thank you.